You was going crazy in that month.
Yeah, I went crazy.
I'm not the same person.
Actually, Gucci Mane was just robbed recently, and they say it was in L.A. I know that, I don't know if you got to see the whole Gucci Mane Pooh Shiesty beef that's been going on.
They said this footage would never see daylight. They said it was locked away, buried deeper than unreleased diss tracks and industry NDAs. But the internet has a funny way of digging up secrets, and what just leaked looks like Pooh Shiesty and Gucci Mane in a heated clash that nobody was prepared for. Not a lyrical sparring match, not subtle shade. Actual tension you can feel through the screen. It's a kind that makes you pause, rewind, and whisper, "Nah, this can't be real." Because let's be clear, this isn't just two rappers getting loud. This is trap history colliding with its own reflection. Gucci Mane, the architect. Pooh Shiesty, the product. Mentor versus protege, standing toe-to-toe like the family reunion just turned into a courtroom drama. And the energy. Uncomfortable. Heavy. Like something snapped that had been cracking quietly for years. The clip spreads. Faster than gossip in a group chat. Fans freeze-frame every movement like it's the Zapruder film of hip-hop. Was it disrespect? Was it money? Was it loyalty finally cashing a reality check? Nobody knows, and that's what makes this dangerous. This isn't just a fight. This is a leaked moment that threatens to rewrite the entire trap legacy. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The moment this footage allegedly surfaced, the internet didn't ask questions first. It picked sides. That's how you know something hit a nerve. Because when a clip shows Gucci Mane and Pooh Shiesty in the same frame with tension thick enough to trip over, hip-hop history itself starts sweating. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not publicly, not on camera. Not between a man who built an empire brick by brick and a rapper who was supposed to be one of the crown jewels of that same empire. To understand why this clip shook people, you have to rewind past the headlines and back into the relationship everyone thought was unbreakable. Gucci Mane didn't just co-sign Pooh Shiesty, he manufactured the moment. From the first breakout records to the icy imagery, the streets certified aura. And the machine behind him, Pooh Shiesty, was positioned as the next unstoppable force. This was legacy building in real time. Gucci wasn't just the boss, he was the architect standing back, admiring the skyline he helped design. But the industry has a habit of smiling for photos while resentment grows backstage. And according to whispers that have been floating for months, cracks were already forming long before any camera allegedly caught them. Money conversations started sounding funny. Loyalty felt one-sided. Silence replaced communication. The kind of quiet that isn't peaceful, it's loaded. Then comes the leak. A short clip, shaky, raw, clearly not meant for public consumption. No cinematic angles, no dramatic music, just energy. Body language, doing more talking than words ever could. GucciMane.com, but firm. That unmistakable posture of someone who's used to being the final authority. Pooh Shiesty, visibly charged, moving like a man who feels unheard and uncredited. This wasn't a disagreement about a hook or a verse. This looked personal, and the internet immediately went into detective mode. People slowed the footage down frame by frame, like they were breaking down a championship knockout. Look at Gucci's face. Nah, Shiesty was heated. That's not how you talk to your OG. That's not how you treat your artist. Suddenly, everyone became an expert in trap politics, label dynamics, and street etiquette. What made this moment explode even harder was the symbolism. Gucci Mane isn't just a rapper, he's a survivor narrative wrapped in designer fabric. Jail, comeback, reinvention, discipline, business savvy. He's the example people point to when they say growth is possible. Pooh Shiesty, on the other hand, represents raw energy, street realism, and the hunger that makes labels gamble millions. Seeing friction between those two felt like watching the past argue with the present about who deserves credit for the future. And here's where the sarcasm creeps in. Because hip-hop loves irony more than honesty. The same industry that cheered. This partnership suddenly acts shocked when tension shows up, as if success doesn't come with egos. As if money doesn't magnify every unresolved issue. As if mentorship doesn't sometimes turn into control. And ambition doesn't sometimes feel like disrespect. Early reactions were chaotic. Fans loyal to Gucci called it ungrateful behavior. They talked about respect, hierarchy, and knowing your place. Meanwhile, Pooh Shiesty supporters flipped the narrative, arguing that talent shouldn't live forever in someone else's shadow. They saw frustration, not betrayal. Two interpretations of the same footage depending on who you already believed in before pressing play. Industry insiders, the ones who never say anything directly, started dropping vague comments online. Tweets with no names but very specific energy. Everybody wants independence until it's time to handle business alone. Being put on doesn't mean being owned. Lines like that don't come from nowhere. They're breadcrumbs, and the audience always follows them. What really fueled the fire was the timing. Pooh Shiesty's situation, his momentum, his absence from the public eye, all of it created a vacuum. And in hip-hop, a vacuum gets filled with speculation faster than facts. The footage didn't just show a clash, it gave people permission to rewrite the story retroactively. Suddenly, old interviews sounded different. Old lyrics felt like subliminals. Old smiles looked forced. Memphis versus Atlanta narratives crept into the conversation too, because of course they did. Regional pride always shows up when things get Poohs. Why'd things get messy? Some framed it as a cultural disconnect. Others saw it as a generational power struggle. Nobody agreed, but everybody was invested. And the wildest part, neither side rushed to shut it down immediately. No instant denial. No fake news caption. No clean explanation. Just silence. And silence in moments like this is louder than a diss track. It lets imagination run wild. It turns a clip into a myth before the truth even gets dressed. This wasn't a polished industry beef with press releases and coordinated narratives. This felt messy, human, and uncomfortable. Like something you were never supposed to witness. Like walking into a room mid-argument and realizing you just overheard. Something that changes how you see everyone involved by the end of the first 24 hours. This wasn't just about a clip anymore. It was about power, loyalty, and what happens when the students stop seeing the teacher as untouchable. And whether this footage was the beginning of a bigger fallout or just the symptom of a long simmering issue. One thing was clear. The trap world had officially entered a new chapter. And once that door cracks open, it never fully closes. Once the clip finished making its first lap around the internet, things didn't cool down, they detonated. What started as a leaked moment quickly turned into a full-blown cultural event. The kind that hijacks timelines, group chats, and barbershop debates all at once. This wasn't just about what happened in that footage anymore. It became about what people think happened, what they want to believe happened, and which version of hip-hop loyalty they've already pledged allegiance to. Memes were the first to arrive because humor is always the internet's coping mechanism. Side-by-side screenshots started circulating like trading cards. Gucci Mane's expression got compared to a disappointed father who just found out his son skipped college to start a podcast. Pooh Shiesty's body language got turned into reaction. Images captioned with things like, "When you realize the contract didn't read the same way," out loud. It was funny until it wasn't, because underneath the jokes was a very real discomfort. People don't like seeing their heroes look human. Then came the celebrity reactions, or at least the almost reactions. Rappers didn't name names, but They spoke in riddles, like fortune tellers who charge per tweet. Everybody wants to be a boss until it's time to take the losses. Another one follows up with, being put on ain't the same as being protected. These weren't random thoughts, they were coded messages, and fans ate them up like breadcrumbs in a mystery novel. Podcast clips resurfaced next, because nothing stays buried in the algorithm. Old interviews of Gucci talking about loyalty got stitched next to recent clips of Pooh Shiesty speaking on independence. The contrast felt intentional, even if it wasn't. Suddenly, the narrative started morphing from heated argument into philosophical war. Trap traditionalism versus modern ambition. Old school structure versus new school entitlement. Everyone picked a side like this was a Marvel movie and not real people with real money involved. And the exaggerations went nuclear. People started acting like this one clip signaled the collapse of an entire musical lineage. Think pieces popped up claiming this was the end of mentorship in hip-hop, as if OGs and protégés hadn't been falling out since the beginning of rap itself. It was like watching someone declare the internet dead because one website crashed. Dramatic. Absolutely entertaining. Even more, the wildest twist came when fans started connecting invisible dots. They pointed to old social media unfollows, missing shoutouts, and subtle changes in tone. Notice how Gucci stopped posting him. Notice how Shiesty's camp moved differently. Suddenly, everyone was a conspiracy theorist with Wi-Fi. This was less CSI and more reality TV, but that didn't stop people from treating it like a trial. Comparisons exploded too. People dragged up every famous mentor-mentee fallout in rap history like receipts from a decade-long beef folder. Jay-Z and Dame Dash, Birdman and Lil Wayne, Dr. Dre, and anybody who ever wanted more control. More control. Each comparison came with a hot take, a meme, and a caption that screamed certainty even when it was built on speculation. The trap world became a pop culture courtroom. Meanwhile, the silence from both camps stretched longer, and that silence started to feel intentional. Because in today's attention economy, not speaking can be louder than a press conference. Every hour without clarification fed the fire. Fans refreshed timelines like gamblers waiting for odds to shift. When would someone blink first? When? Would the narrative finally get hijacked by a statement? Then came the outrage crowd, the people who treat every situation like a morality test. Some accused Gucci of controlling behavior, painting him as an industry gatekeeper who didn't want his creation to outgrow him. Others accused Pooh Shiesty of biting the hand that fed him, framing him as ungrateful in a culture that still worships hierarchy. Both sides spoke with absolute confidence, even though neither side actually knew the full story. That didn't matter. Certainty feels good, even when it's imaginary. TikTok took it to another level. Short clips analyzing posture, eye movement, and tone went viral. Amateur psychologists broke down the footage like it was a couples therapy session gone wrong. See how he steps back? Notice who breaks eye contact first. Suddenly, everyone had a PhD in body language. The clip wasn't just watched, it was dissected, dramatized, and repackaged for maximum outrage. And let's talk about the irony, because it's thick. The same culture that praises authenticity lost its mind when authenticity looked messy. People say they want the truth, but what they really want is a clean storyline. This wasn't clean. This was awkward, uncomfortable, and unresolved. It didn't fit neatly into a diss track or a headline. It lived in the gray area, and that made people uneasy. As the days passed, the narrative grew legs of its own. Some claimed this was staged. Others swore it was the beginning of a legal war. A few even suggested it was a calculated distraction. Welcome to the internet, where every explanation is plausible if you say it confidently enough. The clip became Less about what actually happened and more about what it represented to whoever was watching by the time the frenzy peaked. One thing was undeniable. This wasn't just a moment. It was a mirror. It reflected every insecurity, every expectation, and every contradiction within hip-hop culture itself. Loyalty versus leverage, respect versus revenue, family versus business. And like any good drama, it didn't offer answers. It offered stakes, because when legends and protégés collide in public, the fallout never stays contained. It spills, it stains, and it forces everyone involved to choose how they want to be remembered. And the internet. The internet never forgets, as the noise slowly began to settle. The real damage didn't show up in tweets or memes, it showed. Up in absence, silence has a way of revealing consequences long before statements ever do. And in this case, the quiet felt calculated, heavy, and permanent. Whatever happened in that leaked moment didn't just bruise egos. It shifted relationships, reputations, and the way people look at both names moving forward. Gucci Mane's image took a strange turn in public perception. For years, he's been framed as the redeemed architect of trap culture, the blueprint who survived the chaos and came back disciplined, business-minded, and focused. To many fans, that image still holds. But after the footage, a new layer crept. In the idea of control, some began questioning whether mentorship in hip-hop ever comes without strings attached. Not loudly, not aggressively, but quietly. The way doubt slips in when narratives start cracking. Gucci didn't lose respect overnight. But the conversation around him became more complicated, less mythic, more human. Pooh Shiesty's reputation, meanwhile, shifted in the opposite direction, depending on who was watching. To his supporters, the footage symbolized frustration boiling over. A young artist pushing back against a system that benefited from his talent while limiting his autonomy. They saw defiance, not disrespect, growth, not betrayal. To critics, though, the moment confirmed their worst assumptions that ambition without patience turns into entitlement. Same clip. Two legacies being judged in opposite directions. The industry responded in its usual indirect way. Opportunities don't vanish loudly, they just stop appearing. Subtle distance formed, fewer public associations, less visible alignment. No dramatic blacklisting, just the slow fade that happens when uncertainty enters the room. In hip-hop, perception is currency, and controversy spends faster than clarity. What really lingered was the sense that something sacred had cracked. Hip-hop thrives on lineage, who passed the torch, who put who on, who made space. This moment disrupted that mythology. It forced people to admit that mentorship isn't always warm and that loyalty doesn't always survive success. The fairy tale version of OG builds the star. Star stays grateful forever, suddenly felt naive. Fans began revisiting old moments with new eyes. Past interviews felt rehearsed. Old praise sounded transactional. Even celebratory moments now carried an asterisk. That's the cruel magic of hindsight. It rewrites emotions retroactively. And once the audience starts questioning authenticity, trust becomes fragile. Behind the scenes, speculation swirled about long-term consequences. Would this fracture ever heal? Could there be reconciliation? Or was the damage to public, too? Symbolic hip-hop history suggests both outcomes are possible. Some feuds dissolve quietly. Others calcify into cold distance. What makes this situation different is that it wasn't born from competition. It came from proximity. Those wounds cut deeper. The clip also left a warning for the next generation watching closely. Being put on doesn't guarantee protection. Building someone doesn't guarantee obedience. Power shifts, money talks, and relationships change the moment leverage enters the equation. It's a lesson as old as the industry. But moments like this make it impossible to ignore. And here's the uncomfortable truth: nobody really won. There was no viral victory lap, no clean moral high ground. Just a messy snapshot of what happens when success meets unresolved tension. The internet will eventually move on, because it always does, but the people involved will carry this moment far longer than the audience. Remembers it, the footage didn't end careers. It didn't rewrite contracts. But it did something more. Subtle and more lasting, it reframed legacies. Gucci Mane is no longer just the untouchable mentor in some people's eyes. Pooh Shiesty is no longer just the product of someone else's vision. Both now exist in a gray space where admiration and criticism coexist. And maybe that's the real aftermath. Not destruction, but exposure. A reminder that behind every empire is tension, behind every cosign is negotiation, and behind every success story is a moment the cameras weren't supposed to catch. Because this won't be the last time something like this surfaces. Hip-hop thrives on pressure, and pressure always finds a crack. The only question is who's standing nearby when it does, and who's left explaining the silence afterward. If you've made it this far, congratulations, you just survived another behind-the-scenes hip-hop moment they never wanted you to see. This is the part where most channels play it safe, clean it up, and move on. Not here. Because the truth doesn't come wrapped in a bow, and it definitely doesn't come with a press release. It comes messy, leaked, uncomfortable, and loud. Exactly like the footage that started all of this. So now, it's your turn. Drop your take in the comments. Was this a disrespectful line crossed, or a pressure valve finally blowing? Was it entitlement clashing with authority, or a mentor realizing the student no longer needs permission? Say it with your chest, we read everything. And if this story made you pause, rewind, or side-eye your screen even once, smash that like button like it owes you money. Hit subscribe if you're tired of watered-down narratives and surface-level breakdowns. This channel doesn't do polite. We do receipts, tension, and the moments that make the industry nervous. Turn on notifications because these scandals don't wait for anyone. They drop when the internet cracks. We're always first to catch the pieces. Remember, today it's Gucci and Pooh Shiesty. Tomorrow, it's someone else's legacy under a microscope. That's how this game works, and that's why you stay tapped in here. Because while others report headlines, we break the pressure behind them. Stay sharp, stay skeptical, and don't blink. The next leak is already loading. This is the Rap Truth. Rap Truth.